Right, hello, and I am Natalie J Whyte, and this is a transformational podcast called Mentoring Myself, where I ask a variety of experts what advice they would give their younger self. So today we are joined by Johlen Vinova, and she works with dreaming and she also instructs yoga. Johlene, tell us more about what you do.
Hello, my name is Johlene, like Natalie has already said. Nice to have speak to you this morning, Natalie.
Mm-hmm.
So I am by day a yoga teacher. I teach yoga, asana, the movement. I also teach meditation and pranayama. And then I also am a retreat creator. So I create different yoga retreats and then especially around dreaming. So I don't only do dream yoga retreats, but I do most of them are dream work kind of retreats that we then do for an entire weekend. I bring different teachers and facilitators on board that specialize in different fields of dream work. And then we work with people and we help them use their dreams in different way for personal transformation, for integration, of whatever else they want to use it for. And we just have quite an immersive experience with them. I also teach dream work online or in-person workshops. And I'm also currently enrolled in a death doula course with Going with Grace. So for me personally, there's a big relationship between dream work and death work. So again, the doula work will just be something that kind of relates to that as well. So that's
Wow.
me.
That is so fascinating. So I think for your topic specifically, or what your field specifically, I don't think a lot of people are actually familiar with what do you mean when you say dream work? What is this like? Are you going into people's dreams? Are you telling them how to dream? You helping them analyze the symbols from their dreams. What actually is it that you're doing with them?
So dream work is an extremely vast subject. My speciality within the dream work scope is lucid dreaming. So lucid dreaming is while you are actively dreaming, you realize that you are dreaming. So usually when we dream, only when we wake up, in hindsight, we realize, oh, it was a dream and it wasn't real. So lucid dreaming, what makes it different is that you heighten your awareness with different dream practices. You can do this. You heighten your awareness so that you realize within the active dream space that you are dreaming. And then you can do different things in the dream where usually you just follow the dream script when you sort of have like an unconscious dream, if I can call it that, the one where you just follow the script and it's just happening to you.
Mm-hmm.
Within lucid dreaming, you then take control over the dream so that it's not happening to you, but that you are an active participant in creating the content of the dream. So when we look at dreams from a neuroscientific point of view, the reason why we dream, and we actually spend 11 years of our lives dreaming and REM sleep, not 11 years sleeping, you actually spend a third of your life sleeping, but 11 years of your life, if you live a full long life, maybe to the age of 80, you will spend 11 years of your life dreaming. So it serves like a very important role. The role, according to neuroscience, is for memory consolidation, meaning this is through dream work, your brain hardwires memories into the system. So save button on that. And then another, so it's emotional memory and also factual memory. And then also for trauma integration and just integrating experiences. So dreams have an extremely important function from a neuroscientific point of view. And then also if you look at it from a spiritual point of view, for example, if you looked at what the Tibetan Buddhists say, they believe that you can use your dreams, especially lucid dreams, as a spiritual training ground to transform your life, and also for preparation for death. So it depends what you want to do. There are so many things that you can do with lucid dreams. So it can help with memory, it can help with trauma, it can help with spiritual practices, or you can even just do it to have fun. Because if you think about it, we basically, I won't say that if you don't lucid dream, it doesn't mean that you waste those 11 years, because regular dreams also can give us a lot of insight into ourselves if we observe them. And of course, then they serve this function of memory consolidation and trauma integration. But if you bring awareness to it, the same way as you can think, like if you bring more awareness to your life, there could possibly be more transformation, more new possibilities. So it's the same in the dreamscape. If you take control over it, there's just so much more that you can do with it. So that is my speciality, is lucid dreaming specifically. But I also help people remember their dreams, because before you can even do the lucid dreaming, you need to connect to your dreams. You need to remember them. So there's also different practices we can do for that. And then during my retreats, I also bring other people on board. For example, I've got a woman called Stephanie Terblanche, who's a clinical psychologist and Jungian psychotherapist. So she will then speak to people about, understanding the content of the dream from a symbolistic point of view.
Yes.
And the different parts of the psyche and how that functions, the inner child, the shadow work, those kind of things that she touches on. And then we also have Abaida Musengi, who is a yoga teacher and a meditation teacher, but also a death doula. So she will do sort of death work practices with people as well. So the Tibetan Buddhists believe that this life, they don't believe this life is a dream, they believe this life is dream-like. And so also when you die, the next phase you move into is also dream-like. And it's even more dream-like, they believe, than this life. So this life is very gross, where the afterlife would be very subtle. Which means that if you're on a dream-like subtle state, you can actually manifest things more immediately, like you could in a dream, for example. It's a more of a mental space. And if you practice lucid dreaming, for example, if you practice becoming aware that you are dreaming, they believe that when you die, you can then also become lucid, realize that you've died, and then you can break free from samsara, for example. Or you can then choice. If you become lucid after death, I believe you can make a choice. Do I want to reincarnate again? Do I want to continue within samsara, this cycle of birth and death and rebirth, or do I want to break out of it? Do I want to become enlightened? So they believe
this is so fascinating.
there is sort of like the easiest time for you to become enlightened and break free from samsara is just moments after you've died, or days after you've died. So you can then use these dream practices during that time to help you perhaps have a smoother transition, if that even exists. So we don't know obviously what happens to you after you die, but the Tibetan Buddhists actually have a lot of content, what they think happens to you when you die. And if you're ever interested in learning more about that, you can read the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which has been translated in recent years into English. And there are other books that can help you translate that book. For example, Living, Dreaming, Dying by Rob Nair can help you translate the Book of the Dead. And there are some other books as well that you can use, because it is quite a heavy read, even though it's in English.
Yes.
And we understand English when we read it. It is quite a heavy read. And initially I didn't get all of it. And I actually needed a little bit of guidance to understand it better. And I do recommend that book by Rob Nair, Living, Dreaming, Dying.
Wow. I find this completely fascinating, because I love dreaming. I love my dreams. I have very intense, it's very much like another life almost, that I'm living. It's still me, but I'm doing things that I would do in my normal life, carrying on. And I have had a number of times where I've sort of had lucid dreaming, but it hasn't really been intentional. It's sort of something will happen in the dream and I'm like, okay, no, this can't be real. One of my dreams I used to have when I was younger was terrible. I used to dream I was chewing gum, and the gum would get stuck, and I'd pull the gum out of my mouth, and my teeth would come with the gum. It was horrific. And then as the teeth were coming out, I was, this is a dream. Your teeth can't just fall out like this. This is ridiculous. And then realize that I'm dreaming.
That's a very good start. Take it a bit further. And then, yes, I've also often had these dreams where your teeth fall out of your mouth. It's usually a sign that you are experiencing stress, especially at home, because your teeth symbolize fulfilling one of your most basic needs, which is eating. So if you lose your teeth in a dream, it feels that on some level you are not fulfilling one of your basic needs are not being met or fulfilled. So it could be, for example, if you are scared you're not going to make enough money this month to pay your bills, you could potentially have a dream like that. Or say, for example, at home you're just experiencing a lot of stress. So that could also be a sign of that.
Definitely. Thank goodness
in night,
those are back there that I used to. I haven't had those dreams for quite a while. So I'd say about a decade ago was when I was last having my teeth falling out, thank goodness, in my dreams.
It's a very common dream experience. That's a very common dream, teeth falling out, very common. And it's also happened to me so much that I've also become lucid because of it. It's been a lucid, so you would call that like a lucid dreaming trigger. It's something that sort of like triggers you and you realize, whoa, this is weird. Like, why is this happening? So it happened to me so much that after a while, if it happened in my dreams, I would think like, wow, this often happens in my dreams and now it's actually happening in real life. And then I question that thought. Why am I thinking that? And then I look around and I realize, oh, I'm dreaming.
Yes. Oh, wow. Okay. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. That's super cool. All right. So let's move on. I don't want us to lose out our time on our most important question, which is, what advice would you give your younger self?
Well, so I really gave this some thought, because I mean, I would just probably want to have like a whole session and a conversation with my younger self.
Definitely.
But I think an important thing for me, and I know this will resonate with other people, is make an effort to seek support to work through the trauma that you have experienced in your life. So some people have trauma from their childhood. Some people have trauma from one incident happening to them. And what often I see happening with people, and what also happened with myself, is that you just want to move on from that experience. But often what we do is we suppress the experience, either by distracting ourselves with different things in life. It could be drugs, it could be partying. That's what I did a lot to distract myself. It could be other things, it could be relationships. And how trauma works in the brain is you can't let go of trauma. It doesn't work like that. Through a dream work point of view or perspective, we don't let go of anything. You integrate trauma because you can't let go of it. Trauma actually shapes how we perceive the world. And you can't just suppress that. You can't just like put that under the rug. It is going to influence how you see the world. So for a long time, I thought I could just suppress it, and it just makes it worse. What actually happened to me was, because I didn't work through my trauma, because I didn't seek the support that I needed, I did a lot of drugs and partying, and I actually traumatized myself even further. Wow. I think most of my trauma actually comes from what I did to myself, because I didn't seek the support, and I also did things where I didn't trust myself. So just like created this like a bigger issue. So really try and find that support, work through your trauma. There are so many avenues that you can pursue to work through your trauma. Dream work is only one of them. Talk therapy is another one. Meditation, yoga. There are so many things. I saw you had an interview the other day with Johlene. So NLP, that can also help so much, like changing the narrative inside your brain.
Yes.
So that would be a big piece of advice I would give myself. And another piece of advice would be forgive your parents. I think so many people, whether your parents tried their best or didn't try their best, doesn't matter. It often happens that we have some childhood trauma from our parents, or it could even be from other people that were at school with us. It could be from a sibling. Forgive those people. And just know that forgiveness is a process, and you're also going to have to work at it. It's not something you're going to like magically click your fingers. You know, a lot of time we have these like letting go rituals where you will write something on a piece of paper and then burn it, and now I've let go of it and it's gone, and I've, you know, like
no, it doesn't work like that.
Those kind of practices have a place and they can be beautiful, but just know that it doesn't just happen like that in an instant. Like, you're gonna have to work at it. You're gonna have to find that support. Don't try and just like work through it in your own mind. Find a mentor, find a psychologist, find a yoga teacher, find somebody that you look up to, and like talk to them, because talk therapy is wonderful. And even if you feel unsafe and you can't talk to anybody, write it down, keep a journal. That also helps a lot. Just find whatever works for you, what you work through trauma and forgiveness, and forgive yourself.
That's such great advice. I think what I've picked up in the last few years is a lot of people are suffering with what's sort of commonly known as complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And, you know, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's a new sort of classification in the DSM, which is the, you know, the diagnostic manual for psychology and clinical psychology. And the complex PTSD is basically the effects from living in the world that we have it now. You know, like you say, I think it's so pertinent that you said forgive your parents and deal with your past traumas, because oftentimes the way that we brought up, I mean, we were brought up I was brought up in the 80s, and then, you know, parents, there wasn't this mindful, conscious parenting, you know, and they were both working jobs and everything, and sort of, you know, the kids mustn't be must be seen but not heard kind of vibe, you know, and I feel like children at that stage were really diminished. Their power was really diminished in terms of their voice and what they were experiencing. And a lot of like, I mean, there's still parenting going on like that now. Not everyone is conscious parents, you know, and what happens is you come into your adulthood, you know, as you're coming out of your teenage years, your adulthood, and like you say, forgive your parents, because there's a lot of anger once you realize, actually, you know what, the way that my parents have raised me and the way that they've dealt with me has actually been quite harsh. You know, it's actually been traumatic over the years. When you watch yourself and you notice, if you're able to pick up the behaviors that are complex PTSD behaviors, like your anxiety, like your need to please others, you know, time anxiety. Those are things that for me were developed in my home. And it's not, my parents didn't do it to be nasty, to be mean. It was just how they were. Come, it's time to go. Da, 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 da. You know, there's this very intense sort of life, which only later did I realize that actually that formed part of my personality, which is this very quite highly strung go-getter. But the go-getter was as a result of having pressure on me all the time to perform, to receive, you know, unconditional love, but through what we do and what we perform. So I think that's really a fascinating, what you're saying is you don't always know that you've gone through a trauma, and you don't always know that you've gone through a long period of trauma, or you go through something small and you, oh no, it's fine, I'll be okay, it's just normal life, this is how normal life is. And you know, lots of people grow up and there's worse things that have happened to other people and so on, and so you dismiss what actually is your own trauma. And so I personally, I think your advice to go back and actually go and deal with it, because for me it was just like, okay, now I got to toughen up and grow out of it now, and it was just a normal life, and forgive your parents and stuff. But you can actually be gentle on yourself. You can actually go, you know what, this was a trauma, but yes, I do forgive the people, it's not their fault, but I can see the effect of that lifestyle and that trauma on my system and on how I operate and how I live my life. And yeah, so I absolutely love that advice. And I think like you say, forgive everyone, because no one, you know, even if someone does intentionally hurt you, it's coming from a place of trauma within them. So I feel like forgiveness is a great piece of advice. So yeah, let's you said you were going to do a lovely little activity or exercise with us here, dream exercise. I'm super keen to do it, and I'm sure that the listeners and watchers would like to partake. And I'm sure there's a disclaimer beforehand or a warning beforehand. Please do not do this while driving or operating heavy machinery.
Yeah.
Right? You know. Okay. So I'm going to hand it over to you, and let's go with it, and let's see what happens with this experience. I'm super keen.
Okay, so usually I do this, what we're going to do now, for an hour long. So I'm just going to do a little piece of a dream incubation process. So usually I do this, actually it's like an hour and a half. So I do the dream incubation process, which I'm going to go through a few steps with you guys now. You can just write it down, and then I'm going to go through it very quickly, but you can write it down and then do it in your own time. So it's almost like I'm giving you a little bit of homework.
Mm-hmm.
How I usually do this, I take these few steps, it's about 6 steps of the dream incubation, and then I incorporate it with yoga nidra. So yoga nidra is something I use a lot in my meditation practices when I do my own practice or when I guide meditations. I do yoga nidra a lot, and I also always incorporate it with the dream work. So when we are practicing yoga nidra meaning sleep. So yoga nidra is a yoga of the mind. So it's not a physical practice. You actually lie down when you do it. You lie on your back. And it's a guided meditation where you listen to the facilitator's voice, and they will guide you through your body and through different mental spaces and sensations and all of that. And when you are in this space, you enter alpha and theta brainwaves. So these brainwaves are similar to the brainwaves you are in when you do hypnotherapy. So your mind is then like fertile soil. And we take the incubation process a little bit further, and we go and plant some seeds in this fertile soil.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the seeds that you plant, I give you. Some of the seeds that you plant are your own seeds that you've created. So we're not doing the yoga nidra practice today, but anybody can contact me if they want to go through that whole process. It's quite potent, and it is also very relaxing. So it's like a double whammy. But we are just going to do the first part, which is the actual dream incubation. So dream incubation has been used by different cultures in different ways through different millennia, about thousands of years and so on. And so there are many different ways to do it, but this is like a very simplistic way to do it. You can even find the ancient Egyptians doing this. So why do we do dream incubation? So dream incubation, just like the name suggests, it's to incubate a dream that you want to have. So this will be the first question that I asked you. The first step is, what dream do you want to have and why? The motivation is very important with dream work because our minds are goal orientated. So if you have an intention, if you have a goal, you are more likely to succeed. So the first question, you guys can just write it down, whoever's listening, and then you can afterwards just go and sit and do it in your own time because it is a bit of a process. What kind of dream do you want to have and why? So you can choose. Perhaps you want to have, perhaps you just want to have fun. Perhaps you're like, I want to dream that I'm in India and doing a yoga class there, or I want to dream that I'm in the rainforest with wild animals. You know, it could be something that's just purely for fun, and it could just purely be experimental. Or it could be something deeper. Perhaps you want to incubate a lucid dream. I want to become lucid. So that's my goal. Perhaps you want to meet somebody in your dream. Maybe there's some master you want to meet or somebody who's passed away. You must just always understand that when you meet them in your dreams, that it is a manifestation of your own mind. It's not necessarily that person, although I can't say it's not, but that's just my belief. Mm-hmm. But you can then sort of have a tangible experience within the dream meeting somebody. So there's lots of different things that you can decide on what you want to dream about. So that's the first step, deciding that. The second step is to write it down. So very important to write it down. You don't have to write a whole essay. You can even write down just like points. Doesn't even have to be entire sentences. Or if you want, you can write it with a lot of detail. So for example, if you want to dream that you're going to Bali, you'll be like, I'm arriving at the airport, and when I'm going to stay at a nice hotel when I'm there, and I'm going to go to the beach, and I'm going to scuba dive, or whatever you want to do. You can write all of that down. And then the second one would be, the third step is to draw a picture. So your mind actually doesn't really work in words. Your unconscious mind, not your entire mind. Your unconscious mind, from where the dream material comes from, or sometimes we call it the subconscious mind. I prefer not to call it subconscious because it's not a subcategory of your mind. It's actually more vast than your conscious mind, your unconscious. Mm-hmm. So it works in symbols and images. So it will just respond to that better. Yes. So draw images, and don't worry about drawing really beautifully. It doesn't matter. If you're not an artist, don't worry. You don't have to show it to anybody. It could be stick figures. Just try your best. draw it out. So first write it out, then draw it out. Then the fourth step is to create a mantra. So say, for example, like I said, I want to dream I'm going to Bali. My mantra will be, tonight I'm dreaming that I'm in Bali. So your mantra is like an affirmation. It's a positive statement. So you don't want to say, I don't want to dream about this or that. You want to say, I want to dream about this, or I am. If you can say I am, it's even more powerful if you can speak in the present tense. So it's a positive statement, present tense, as if it's already happening. I am dreaming about Bali. I'm dreaming I'm in Bali. So you can, for example, say that. Now the mantra, you can say to yourself during the day, because the more you say, the more potent it's going to be. And then as you fall asleep at night, say it. If you wake up in the middle of the night and you go to the toilet and you get back into bed, again, say it as you fall asleep. Especially that time of the morning, like after 3 a.m., if you're woken up and you get back to bed, that's usually when your REM sleep starts. So that's a good time to say your mantra. Then next, the last one would be to journal your dreams. So when you wake up every morning, journal or just write down your dreams. Again, it doesn't have to be like long essays, it could be short. And the reason for this is, say, for example, you incubate a dream and you manifest it and you have this dream, but then you don't remember it. That would be horrible. So you want to also practice your dream recall. And a good way to practice your dream recall, to remember what you dreamed, is to write it down. That's just one way. There are many, many ways and things that you can do to remember your dreams. Another thing you could do is, with your mantra that you create specifically for the dream that you want, you can add other mantras like, I have excellent dream recall. Mm-hmm. Today, I remember my dreams. So those can work nicely with the dream incubation as well for you to remember your dreams. So those are the steps you can follow. And I also advise you, if you do this, perhaps meditate a little bit before and after this practice. It just like really sinks in and that you really know you've got the intention down, you've got the motivation down, and you'll be surprised. I've been extremely surprised how receptive my mind is to these kind of practices. And how potent the incubation practice is. So it's worked very, very well for me. Mm-hmm. And then, like I say, usually I would do this, and then we would do a yoga nidra afterwards. So what you could also do is, often when you do a yoga nidra, a guided meditation, during the meditation, they will ask you to set an intention, to set a sankalpa, they might also call it. Mm-hmm. So you could do this practice, do a guided meditation. When they say, set your sankalpa, your intention, use then your mantra that you created here. Mm-hmm. That's another way you could do it without my guidance, just for yourself. So yeah, that's a short way to incubate a dream.
That's super cool.
Keep at it. Like, don't just do it for one day. You can sit down and do it one day, but the mantra, keep with it. Keep saying the mantra. Keep saying the mantra. Maybe it takes you a week. Maybe it takes you 2 days. Maybe it takes you a month. It's different for all of us.
Sure. Wow. That's incredible. So you can actually intend a dream. That's beautiful. I think, with a lot of, I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza, but I love he uses these really deep meditations, and they basically, you practice putting yourself into such a resourceful, positive state that people are able to actually cure ailments in their body, because it really resets the environmental cues, and I can imagine now, because their program, it's like, let's say for a week, every single day for like 4 hours a day, they're teaching the people to go really deeply into the meditation, that it becomes such a visceral experience that the body's actually interpreting it as the natural environment. So I can imagine with dreaming, if you are intentionally every night dreaming that you're on holiday in Bali and on the beach and having a divine time, that your days are you're going to actually be reducing your stress, because you're so I can see. And then other things like, I mean, you can
use dreaming for healing as well.
Yes,
because so when you are dreaming, you have more cerebral blood flow, so more blood flow in your brain than when you are awake. This has been proven science. So lots of blood flow. You can just imagine, to create this like visual 3D space, it takes a lot of brain work. And the
Yes.
Tibetan Buddhists believe, so this is a beautiful example of neurodharma. Neurodharma means when neuroscience and Buddhist teachings, Dharma teachings, actually complement one another, confirm one another. So the Tibetan Buddhists also believe that your mind is 7 times more powerful when you dream. So whatever you do within the dream space is more powerful. So say, for example, you become lucid and and you want to say affirmation while you are lucid, it is more powerful. So if you think about the placebo effect being your mind's ability to heal your body or to have an effect on your body, you can use lucid dreaming then also to heal your body. You can say positive present tense statements like I am healed in your dream. In Charlie Morley's book, I'm going to show you another book of Charlie Morley in a moment. But in Charlie Morley, he is my lucid dreaming teacher.
Guru, yeah.
I don't know if he will call himself a guru, but yeah. In the first book, not his first book, but the first book that I read of him, Dreams of Awakening, he talks about how to use lucid dreams to heal yourself. And he used an inner ear, he used it to heal a persistent inner ear infection. And I've also used it on my neck because I've got a chronic injury on my neck, and it really works very well. So just while we're on the topic of Charlie Morley, because we spoke about trauma earlier, Charlie Morley.
So we can't see it. It's white. No, we won't be able to see it because your background. There we go. Got it. Dreaming Through Darkness.
Dreaming Through Darkness. That's what it looks like, right? A book by Charlie Morley. Now, Charlie Morley works with war veterans and helps them integrate that trauma with dream work. And he wrote this book and based it on the work that he does with war veterans. And goosies, I have recommended this book. I have, because sometimes people come to me with very complex trauma and very intense nightmares. And I help them as much as I can, but sometimes I feel like reading this book will just help people more than I can help them at this point. So I always recommend this book to people who have severe trauma and severe nightmares because of it. And I've recommended this to 3 of my clients who have it's absolutely changed their lives to read this book. I had one client, for example, who had dreams of somebody attacking her. And this was somebody who actually also traumatized her in her waking state. And she would wake up from these nightmares shaking and unable to breathe. So that's how intensely it manifested for her. And after she wasn't even finished with this book and it already started going away. So yeah, it's your nightmares are dreams screaming at you like, I want your attention.
Fix the trauma.
So even just giving those dreams attention, like in the morning when you wake up and you had a nightmare, you could even just say, I see you. I see you. Say this to the nightmare. Or you could say, I see you shadow, because it could be an expression of the shadow, things that you haven't dealt with. So really potent book to read, Dreaming Through Darkness. And then another book that I can recommend by Charlie Morley is Dreams of Awakening. And it's got a neuroscientific and Tibetan Buddhist outlook on it. And it also incorporates some Jungian psychology as well. There's so many awesome books on this subject. It's really amazing books.
It's incredible because you know, as much as I've always been interested in my dreams, and I love my grandfather used to actually, he used to analyze dreams just as a hobby. It wasn't actually a thing. And he had this big book in Italian, because he was Italian, with all the dream symbols and everything. And I would sort of page through it and I'd understand a word here or there, you know. And I've always sort of been fascinated with the dreams, and even my own dreaming life has always been quite rich, but I've never really thought to use it besides just taking and analyzing it afterwards. I never thought to actually intentionally go into a dream and use that space. And now that I'm working with hypnotherapy as well, I can totally understand and see how your mind is, like you say, this fertile soil when you are in that incubated state, or you are actually in that dream state. So I'm going to look more into this, and I can't wait until I can come to one of your retreats. I think it would be absolutely life-changing. So I'm super excited. But I want to just end off and just say thank you so much for coming on. This has really been so fascinating. And I'm blown away at how my partner always says, he says, your gift makes space for you in the world. And for me, to a lot of people, like analyzing your dreams, whatever, they're like, you know, it's like airy fairy or whatever. But there's real neuroscience to this. There's it's, you know, it's not just wishy-washy. It's as real as any perception that you have of the world right now, you know, even
lucid
when you're
dreaming
waking state.
Well,
Say
they have
again, sorry?
scientific in the 80s or the 70s already, in the 1970s and 80s, lucid dreaming was scientifically proven.
Wow.
Because before it was proven, some people doubted it. People who didn't experience it themselves were like, no, you guys are just talking a bunch of crap. Yeah. But it's been proven. Stephen Berg played, and you can find books about Stephen LeBerg as well that he wrote. He played a big role in it being recognized into mainstream knowledge, basically.
Oh, absolutely fascinating. Well, Johlene, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. It's really been fascinating to talk to you. I have like 10 million more questions, which we'll do at another time because we want to keep it short for listeners. Yeah, tell them when you can get hold of you.
So on Instagram and on Facebook, you can find my pages Rainbow Dreaming SA.
Okay.
You can also contact me on rainbowbodysa@gmail.com. And I do about 3 lucid dreaming retreats a year. The reason I prefer the retreats to the workshops is just because I have more time with people in such a vast subject. You can just go much deeper. My next retreat is the 30th of July to the 1st of August at Melody Hill Retreat Center in Magalies. And then the next one after that, a summer retreat, will be at Simakade the first weekend in November, which is also in Magalies.
Oh, lovely. I know, I've been there. It's absolutely, that's that underground little home. Hey, is that the right place? Yeah, I think so. It's that underground, that lady built that underground, like a clodding home, I think. Is that the right place?
No, it's of Gaia Kiva.
Oh, that's it. Okay, sounded similar.
The Simakade, yeah, it kind of does. Simakade means tree of life.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's beautiful. I've had retreats there before, so it's amazing.
And
I sometimes do like the whole process online. So yeah, if people just check out my pages, they'll be able to see when the next dream incubation is.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Johlene. I've thoroughly enjoyed this this interview. It's gone a bit longer than our usual ones because it's so absolutely fascinating. And yeah, thank you so much. No worries. People will be as interested as I am, I'm sure. Thank you so much. And I hope that the retreat at the end of the month goes absolutely beautifully. And I hope that I can come to the summer one. That would be an absolute gift to myself. So I'm going to set the intention right now. I think if there's any retreat that I can go to, I've done the yoga ones, I've done the sweat lodges and all that stuff, but I have yet to do a dream retreat. So I'm super keen. Hope you have a super day and thanks so much.
And to everybody else listening to this, thank you.
Thank you.